We have very special guests lined up. All thanks to Sunil here. Sunil, of course, we have to discuss a little bit about the press conference as well. What do you make of just the overall demeanor, the attitude with which Rohit Sharma comes today before the public, just a few hours ahead of this crucial World Cup?
Well, this is a customary, Devika, I'm glad you're holding this press conference thing live for our television. Look at Rohit Sharma. He's completely calm, composed and full of confidence. You see his demeanor. He's not getting into any aggressive, defensive kind of verbal demeanor. He's very to the point. He's only talking the straight. He's unlike the way he does his batting. He's not explosive. He's very calm. He's taking it one at a stride. Of course, there was a question that was asked, what does he think about the opponents? He said, we are only here to talk about our positivity, our strengths and the way Rahul Dravid, in fact, he's credited Rahul Dravid for the way that they've managed to put everything together and rally behind it. I think that's the best part of the entire thing, that they are crediting their seniors. You must also realize that this is a team that was handed over by Virat Kohli and Ravi Shastri, and they didn't do too bad in the last World Cup. They reached the semi-final, and unfortunately, because of the weather, they had to move out and lose out the next day, which was the first of its kind. But again, what you see here is Mr. Calm and composed Rohit Sharma.
And that's precisely what you need. And Sunil, at the same time, I mean, somebody was asking this question. I want to avoid it, but we have to go back into history a bit. A lot of people continue to say, when we were speaking to the fans as well, that this is going to be revenge for 2003, because again, we were on a winning streak, and then suddenly we face the Aussies, and we know what happened then.
Absolutely.
So, and that's a question once again.
I was a part of the entourage that created the kit bags for the players and the celebrities who went on a chartered flight. But that's a different story then. There was a different story now. You must also realize, it's the game changes every 5 years, 3 years. Look at what England did. England was on the top of their game 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and look where they are. They're languishing somewhere at the bottom of the pyramid. However, the good part is India has caught up to it. India has understood. They've cracked the Da Vinci Code pretty well, and they've excelled in it. Now, if you see India, no point going in that past. Let's look at what happened 45 days ago. India played Australia. India did pretty well, and that's a result. We are undefeated, unblemished, unconquered kind of lions who are just out there going to roar. And the body language, I'm so happy to see Rohit Sharma in his 3 stripes orange customary press jersey, addressing the media completely with ease. And I think this is the sign of a winner, that hey, we've done our homework. You remember in our school days when we had somebody who would just do revision at the end of it, and before the exams the next day, they would just go out and play. He's that kind of a kid who's the top of the class, who's a topper, who's not worried about what question he's going to be facing tomorrow in the papers.
Absolutely, yes. Sunil, and we have some, you're mentioning top of the class, we have some top of the class guests and experts who are also joining us. So I'm going to just leave it to Sunil and the experts to really take the conversation forward. From here, of course, we continue our mega coverage of the Cricket World Cup. Sunil, over to you.
Thank you, Devika. This is an amazing day, just the penultimate day of the final. We have a strong lineup, and we will have people coming in as we progress in our program. Joining me in the guest is in the studio is a guest who's been with me for 45 days. Great job, great player, top class, always high on energy, and we expect her to just explore today despite her surroundings and whatever is going in her mind right now. It's Tasneem Granger, 15 years playing at the international level and still going strong. Of course, we have Bennett, who's a Sri Lankan commentator who was also the manager of the team in the previous few years ago, and he's England based. So is David Brooks, who's on the line talking about his views about how awful England was and how brilliant Virat Kohli and the gang is. And he's been maintaining consistently from the first match that India will reach the final unblemished and unconquered, and that's what he has. In fact, a couple of other other commentary and other, crystal ball gazing turned out to be pretty right, including Netherlands defeating a couple of big teams, and he got it right. Of course, I'm going to start off with Bennett. Bennett, what do you make of this grand occasion? Do you think it's a proud moment for Indian subcontinent to be there? Of course, you've seen the 96, you've seen the 2011 World Cup, but what do you make of this? What makes this the bigger World Cup than the previous of ours?
Well, I think from a point of view of India, this is an absolute stunning opportunity because it's being played in India and India have reached the final. A lot of hope entrusted with the Indian team. However, I have my observations on this, Sunil.
Yes.
I think as much as what you said, the revision's been done, they have done all their work that they had to do, but it's on that day, isn't it? It's on that day how you play the game. India have been relentless in their pursuit for glory. However, I think they have met their match tomorrow. It's going to be a tough one to crack.
Well, we've seen a whole lot of, Bennett, we've seen a whole lot of other teams also excelling, but do you think these are the top two teams, despite the losses that Australia had in the first two games, and despite three close games, which their opposition squandered rather than they claiming the victory? Do you think these are the two best teams?
Sunil, like on paper, perhaps not. I think South Africa has had a better sort of a team in the tournament. However, in terms of the momentum that has been built going into the game, I think Australia are in a better position tomorrow to crack the code. The only reason is that they have been exposed at different levels. They come from behind. They started the tournament at really low. Their spinners were not on form, their injuries, so many things going on. They lost a few games. They came in. Every game they came in, they learned, and they were slowly getting better and better and better. And now they're at the utmost high in terms of their powers. And this is why I think Australia will win tomorrow, Sunil. This is my prediction. Well, the only reason being, sorry, I appreciate the viewers and listeners may not be too pleased with this, but this is how I see this.
Bennett,
tomorrow.
I'm so tempted to flash your Twitter handle up on the screen and get you busy for the next 10 hours, or perhaps 20, when your fans reach out and send you some memes. But that's okay. Let's get David Brooks into the conversation. David, Bennett is your good friend. You guys play cricket together, but do you think he's off target way too much or just slightly?
I think he's slightly off target, and we've had a good, robust discussion about this yesterday on the radio. And yes, Bennett's argument, as I understand it, is that India, yes, unconquered, unblemished, but also untested. They haven't been tested yet. And Australia, I can see the argument, will be the first team to test them. However, I think if you do test India, you'll find that they've got plenty up their sleeves. I mean, any team with Ravindra Jadeja coming in at number 7.
Right.
You've got, even if Australia strike with early wickets, the form of the middle order and the depth, I think will see India through. I haven't mentioned Virat Kohli yet. That's because there's been a plan. I'm very happy to hear Rohit Sharma in that press conference just now paying generous tribute to Rahul Dravid.
Yes.
You know, uncomplicated, unflashy, unflappable, calm, shrewd, and above all, knowledgeable. He knows India cricket. He served his time. He's put together a whole assembly of coaches. You know, and that period he spent at the National Academy, he knows all the young players too. You know, it's not like England jetting in someone from Australia to look after the team for a year. He didn't know anyone in English cricket. Rahul Dravid knows everyone in Indian cricket. He knows the youngsters. He knows the A-team. He knows the academy. And above all, he knows his top players. He treats them with respect. Please note Mr. Kumble, who had an unsuccessful role as coach because he never respected the senior players. So with Rahul Dravid, you have the best of both worlds, respect for the senior players and encouragement and knowledge of the youngsters.
Well, we have a very rare situation where a Sri Lankan is siding with an Aussie team and you have a British team that is a Britisher siding with an Indian, but at the same time, let's time to get a very normal voice and unbiased voice here. Tasneem Granger, the lady who talks more about stats than her feelings. Tasneem, what do you make of the situation right now?
Yeah, definitely. Good evening to you all. And I'm just with both guys, to be honest with you. There's definitely a lot going into tomorrow's game. I am with everybody in the sense that, you know, I do feel like Australia has the momentum on their side. They have found out probably where their chinks in their armor are at this stage. And you might want to think about the perception that maybe, you know, you want to say India is just relying entirely on their top three. For me, it's about top five. I don't feel like there's a chink. Maybe KL Rahul as well as Shiraz A. I haven't entirely had as many innings as, you know, the Australian middle order, but the fact is the innings they have had, they've made count as well. So it becomes a big case for me as well. And I like what you said, Sunil, about the fact that Rohit Sharma looks really calm. And I think it's a great thing, you know, at the end of the day, because the night before a big game, and this is a big game, not is it just a big game in a big series, but it is the World Cup as well.
Well, absolutely. We get some fans, some good, some bad, but at the same time, fans have their emotion, and that's what we see on screen at times. But yes, Tasneem, let's move on from the emotions to the Excel sheet that has driven us till the end of this World Cup. David, the odds, what do your odds say? You believe more in the odds than anything else. Tell us.
Well, I think you know, obviously there's betting on this all over the world. It's
That's not allowed to be spoken in India.
Yes, not allowed in India, but you know, the rest of the world are betting on this match, and it's interesting to see where the money's going, because that's people voting with their wallets, not their hearts. And India are very clear favourites, 1-2 on. Australia are the 2 or 3-1 outsiders, so it's 2-horse race if you like, and India are firm favourites. But, and there's always a but, you know, these odds obviously change as soon as the game starts. I would like to see India inserting Australia tomorrow when they win the toss. I think that would be a bold decision and the right one, because Kohli can control the chase. And let's see exactly what Australia have got. Because if their middle order has been very brittle. Greg Matthews played that amazing innings, but how many more of those has he got in him? He looked pretty crocked in the last game when he could have been out early and was out very early in the end. And Mitchell Marsh has been in and out. Smith and Labuschagne have been a shadow of their former selves. So they're very reliant on Travis Head getting them off to a flyer. Now, can he do to Bumrah and Shami what he did to the South Africans in the semi-final?
Absolutely.
Surely Rahul Dravid and the guys will have a plan to combat that. They will have discussed that. They will have a plan. And Travis Head, well, he might lose his head very early if Australia bat first tomorrow.
Well, absolutely. Pennant, I'd like to ask you a couple of things very pointed. Do you think this Australian team may look very strong to you, but is it a shadow of what they used to be, the great Australian, fast-talking, fast-playing, hard-hitting, aggressive players that you see them? Bennett, you'll have to turn off your microphone. Can you hear us? Yes, Bennett. Go on.
Yeah. Certainly, they're a shadow of their old self, but in terms of skill. But the Australians, over a period of time, it's their mindset, and they are big team players. If you look at 2021, the T20 World Cup, how they came in, no one even knew before they could even turn the corner, they've actually won the World Cup. I mean, again, when they came in here, it's just their mindset. They are big team, big match players. And again, looking at just going back one step, Sunil, as to why, again, me being from the subcontinent, and just a cricketing sort of a decision that I made in terms of predicting, nothing personal, in terms of the cricketing side of things. But going back to the Indian team, I mean, their bowlers, bar Ravindra Jadeja, who's an all-rounder, don't bat. And they only have 5 specialist bowlers. We saw Kohli and Shubham Gill and Rohit Sharma turning their arms over in one of the games to see. So if Australia are mind gamers, as you very correctly said, compared to before teams, if they attack one of the frontline 5 bowlers, what will be the plan B for India? Just hold that thought for 1 second. Then the other thing is their top batters, the top order have performed. So in the event of a few wickets going through, all up to Jadeja they can bat. But we saw the Australians, how Pat Cummins and Mitchell Starc took them through in the last game. I mean, we haven't had that exposure for the Indian bowlers who have actually come into bat. We saw Pat Cummins standing on one end and holding his wicket up in that game. So this is the kind of thing I'm expecting tomorrow. Australia, as much as Rahul Dravid is a brilliant planner, brilliant strategist, all of that point taken. He's taken this team through. But Australia play with the mind. And this is why I think Australia will go in as 60-40 favorites, but it's going to be a grand game. Whatever happens, I want to see. I'm sure all our spectators would like to see, and viewers would like to see a good game, a good contest, a keen tussle between bat and ball. That's what I'm expecting. So.
Well, absolutely. We want to look at the key tussle between the bat and ball. But at the same time, it's very pertinent to look at head-to-head between the two teams. We have to look at the top end. Let's look at the opening pair that we have in India and compare it with the Australian pair. Tasneem, just take us through the stats, please, if you can.
Definitely. So just a couple of key things for you to be looking at right now. Rohit Sharma has scored a total of 550 runs. He's got 90 boundaries to this as well. This is all done in 443 balls. His highest score, 131, at an average of 55 with a strike rate of 124. On the other hand, you have David Warner scoring a total of 528 runs. Not much entire difference between the two. This done with 73 boundaries. This is where the gap starts growing. He's got a highest of 163. His average 52.8. And again, a strike rate of 107. So automatically, one thing you can tell just by looking at this at a glance, Rohit Sharma is more aggressive. David Warner may be more aggressive, but he's not successfully hitting it all the time. I'd put him at about 80% clearing the ropes. Again, his boundary count is lower than Rohit Sharma's. We know Rohit Sharma is one of the highest scoring players right now throughout this entire power play at this ground as well. And as well as throughout the current league matches that have just passed through the entire World Cup. He's got the highest amount of sixes as well in the first 10 overs in your first power play.
Well, absolutely. He's been scoring at a higher rate. But one question to David right now. David, Rohit has just made a very interesting comment. He said it's because of bowlers who've done the job, it made our life easier. Do you think it's the bowlers who've made the job easier for Team India, or is it the other way around?
Oh, I see no reason to take issue with that. I think, the bowlers have done, I mean, look at the the way that Indian bowlers have struck at the top of the order. You know, it's been test match cricket. Every time that Bumrah, particularly Shami, has got the ball, suddenly we're in a test match situation where if the guy at the other end hasn't got a decent defence, Johnny Bairstow, you're not going to last very long. You can't just swing across the line and play your range power hits or whatever. You know, they've really asked questions. I mean, Shami has been absolutely extraordinary since he came into the team, wasn't in the original team. And, you know, thank God there have been a couple of injuries. Otherwise, we might not have seen Mohammad Shami in this tournament. 3 fifers, including that 7 wickets. He's had the ball on the string. And he's been asking the type of questions that batters haven't had the answer to. I could see him getting Warner early. And I can't see Travis Head's attack at all costs paying off. He might have a go at Shiraz. I think they'll choose, Aussies will go for the weak link. And it could be Shiraz who could go round the park.
Well, that's what the popular perception has been, because we looked at head-to-head, and the only bowler that they can attack right now is either Siraj or it's Kuldeep. What do you think, Tasneem? It's an interesting point, because the number of dot balls that Jasprit Bumrah has been bowling, has been firing all cylinders, is absolutely amazing. 80% of the time, he's been bowling dot balls at the first power play, the first top 10, this thing. Just some stats and anecdotes from the World Cup, from this World Cup, Tasneem?
Definitely. So something you need to take into consideration is Jasper Bumrah is one of the most economical bowlers thus far throughout this World Cup. Not only this, but he is a seam bowler. I'm not sure when last that has actually happened, that the most maidens in a tournament has come from a seam bowler as well. So just a couple of numbers for you on this note. You need to take note of the fact that Bumrah sits at the top. He's bowled 10 overs. He's bowled 82 point. He's played 10 innings. He's bowled 82.5 overs. In this, he's gone for just 497 runs. He's got a total economy of 3.98, with the best figures of 4 for 39. Not far behind him, this is where no shock comes in. You've got Mohammad Nabi, Keshal Maharaj, as well as Ravindra Jadeja. Still no seam bowler do you see at the top of those rankings as well. Just Bumrah sitting at the top. I'd say within at least the top 10. Bumrah is the only seam bowler you will find at that top order.
Well, absolutely. It's Bumrah. It's unanimous now. When you look at the stats in the first 10 overs, from 10 to 40 overs or 40 to 50, all you see is Bumrah just throwing in those good length deliveries and making it better. David, would you like the new Bumrah before the injury, or this version is better as compared to what he's been bowling right now? Your views?
That he was reintroduced by, yes, the coaching staff. You know, Rahul Dravid took his time with him, and he has responded and bowling better than ever. And just want to say a word, just to come back on Bennett, what he said before about India bowlers, you know, they haven't got any batting after Jadeja. Jasprit Bumrah's batting has improved out of all recognition. I saw him strike 20 or was it 26 in an over in England this last time?
Yes.
His batting is not to be, they've all worked on their batting. They've all got a batting buddy. And the improvement that we've seen in the batting of Bumrah and Kuldeep in particular, you know, I think that could, if they are called on, and I don't think they will be, because never mind India having to find some overs, Australia have got to find some overs. I mean, Maxwell's been bowling well. Travis Head was on against South Africa. I mean, they have to mess around. You know, will they play Stoinis? I mean, Australia are in a dilemma because, you know, you can't leave Labuschagne out because of his totemic presence and his fielding, but he's in no form. So if you don't play Stoinis, then Australia are struggling, and maybe India will be targeting one of those bowlers. You see, ultimately, two captains will play a key role tomorrow. We saw how Cummins outsmarted Bavuma in the last game, top to toe, but he won't find it so easy to outsmart Rohit Sharma.
I think it was the South African match to lose, which they lost very convincingly in terms of the way they were outthought by Cummins. Anyways, we'll go on to the next topic, which is the pitch. Again, I'd like to get in Bennett here. Bennett, you remember the 1996 World Cup in Sri Lanka, and you also remember that the Aussies refused to come and play in your Emerald Island. You know that from a security point of view. This time, they don't go and play Afghanistan because of the bilateral series and due to the fact that there was women empowerment issues, problems at the sporting arena, but that they still go and play at the World Cup because two important points were hanging. Now, they've created a new controversy about the pitch. Now, do you think they're crybabies or it's they're repeat offenders about it?
Well, just going back to the 1996 World Cup, I mean, Arjuna Ranatunga challenged that decision when Australia refused to come and said, we will see you in the finals. And that's what they did, and rest is history. We all know what happened.
Yes.
I mean, Australia, again, it's just a mind thing, isn't it? They'll always look at something to try and stir up before the game. So on this occasion, the pitch, in terms of the pitch and how the pitches have been chosen, there's been a lot of debate, a lot of talk around that, Sunil. But it'll be one of those things that'll be up for debate, I guess. But we have to wait and see how that goes. But just going back one moment in terms of my good friend David Brooks, what he mentioned about the batting. I mean, I've got absolutely no 100% faith in the Indian bowlers and how they've improved. But my point is, they have not been tested in the last 45 days. This is the big question that I have for all of us. Anyway, Sunil.
Well, interesting point. Yes, this point needs some debate because India hasn't been tested because their batting has been hovering around the 5th and the 6th batter at most, and it hasn't exposed the tail, and that's the Achilles heel that India has. Tasmin, would you agree? We've been discussing this. The facts and the stats show that when India tries to bat deep on the 6th and the 7th, it doesn't have anyone after Hardik Pandya's injury. What do you have to say on that? And explain our fans the concept how Shami was brought in and how that he brings in a sense of balance.
Yes, definitely. So I'm all for this point as well, you know, but I just want to let you know that before you even get to the middle order, I will reiterate, there is a man called Shiraz Ayer there. He's got the same amount of 50s right now as Rohit Sharma, but 100 extra. This tells you before you decide that you're getting at their middle order, you need to get through him first. Again, in the likes of their middle order, you need to not forget the fact that their first left-hander makes an appearance at around about number 7. So something Australia needs to take into consideration, how comfortable the batsmen are going to be facing the likes of Adam Zampa up the top of the order in the middle set of the overs as well. I do believe I am with you guys on this one, that their middle order hasn't entirely been tested because Shiraz as well as KL Rahul have stuck around and they have done the meat of the job. But I definitely do not push the rest of the team aside and say this is what happens. You need to take into context that this team has been firing on all cylinders as a team. On the Mohammad Shami point again, I have said this and I'll keep saying it again. Shami was the wild card. They played in a card game and never got it wrong. For me, he's been the perfect substitute to come in and fill up the shoes of Hardik Pandya in the sense that he hasn't gone wrong in any way. He comes out, he can have a day where he wakes up today, he decides to swing in the ball in, and then the next thing, halfway through his spell, he's like, you know what guys, I'm going to start swinging it away and the in-swinger can just be my variation. Or flip the switch, he can do the entire opposite. This is where Shami becomes lethal for me. How do you plan for someone that way? As a batter, you come in there letting yourself know, okay, predominantly I know 70% of his deliveries are swinging back in. So maybe you change your guard, maybe you stand on middle and leg. But then the next thing, you have the ball swinging away and you all of a sudden reaching for it. We've seen how many wickets were taken caught behind by KL Rahul as well as in the slips. So then again, this is how I come to the question of how will Australia plan to bat against Shami?
Well, how well do they plan their entire thing against one particular bowler? The other important bowler that India will have to face is Adam Zampa. Now, the soil here also needs to be discussed and debated. The soil, what you see on your screen right now, we've looked at it, there have been controversies, but what? This soil is up for a long haul. It's been played, it's been giving out brilliant results, but at the same time, we've got to realize that once you pitch in the ball, if you have a rip on the ball, it will turn. Unfortunately, Adam Zampa is not your traditional spinner who will give the loop, will give the height, who will give the depth, but at the same time, he will just rip it in. Tasneem, you want to explain the 3 different deliveries that Adam Zampa has, which is a traditional leg spin, which turns at times. But what about the other 2, the slider and the straight one?
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, we haven't seen much entire variations from Adam Zampa besides the straight one. I think I've seen him bowl the googly a couple of times, but he hasn't had much purchase off it as well. All this becoming because his stock ball, that being the traditional leg spin delivery, has not had enough revs on it personally for me. There was a game we've seen him come out in the second innings against Afghanistan and actually be able to get some grip and turn off the surface, but he hasn't been up to full mark. This maybe we can constitute to the fact that he was struggling with a bit of shoulder injuries up front as well as illness at the start of his tournament before he managed to pick up momentum. But taking into consideration the pitch that they'll be playing on tomorrow, this does offer a bit of assistance. And I just wanted to highlight a few things for you about the pitch as well for tomorrow. There were 4 league matches played on this pitch. Of these 4 league matches, the team batting first 3 times was bowled all out. Again, the one time they weren't bowled all out, that team was down for 9 wickets. The team coming in batting second, most of the time has actually won the match for you, except on one occasion. Again, this pitch looks to assist the seam bowlers earlier on up in the morning. It is a black soil pitch. And as well as in the afternoon, there's more better purchase out there for the spinners. So again, do Australia take their guns, back their guns in Travis Head as well as David Warner, and send India in, hoping that Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazelwood, and as well as Pat Cummins can make the most of the conditions as they did against South Africa? Or do they say, you know what, guys, we're going to go out there and we're going to set the target for India, who are the chase masters, to come out and chase and back their guns in one man, being Adam Zampa, backed up by two part-timers in Glenn Maxwell as well as Travis Head?
Well, interesting point. The part-timers, Travis Head, isn't doing bad at all. Well, we are privileged to have our friend Roland Butcher, the West Indian selector, and also someone who's played cricket test for England. In fact, we remember his swagger when we see the YouTube channel of his innings. The swagger is like Viv Richards type. Well, welcome to the show. We also joined by Anurag Pisara, who's a cricket journalist from India and pretty well known in other sports too, including football. Well, we'll get first Roland Butcher. Roland, excited about the big clash tomorrow?
Yeah, first of all, good day to everyone. Yeah, very excited about the clash. Really, this is, before the tournament started, this is the final that I thought would actually happen. And, I think the two best teams, I guess, in the tournament. Obviously, England went into the tournament with being the defending champions, but realistically, I didn't feel that they had a serious chance. So this matchup is what I envisaged at the beginning. I'm looking forward to the contest.
Well, how much importance would you give to the historical perspective where you have around 50 odd matches played against each other in the last several World Cups? Do you think that discussion should come to an end? Because the current context is more important. The current form of the players is much more important than your historical data. Roland Butcher, what is your view on this?
I think the historical data is for people who like historical data. Tomorrow, I don't think it will have any bearing whatsoever. I think what's most important tomorrow is going to be, one, the state of the pitch, how the pitch performs throughout the rest of the game, and really how the two teams perform. All what's happened in the past, I think, makes no difference whatsoever. It may be in the minds of some supporters, but I think when those two teams go onto the park, both of them, they're going to look at their current form on both sides and really how they feel they can win the game. So it's just going to, for me, it's just a one-off game that the best team who execute well on the day will win.
Well, what happens there? Well, I'd like to go to Anurag Pasare. Anurag, if you can hear us, what do you make of the situation when it comes to the bowling? Who would you give the credit to? Because in the beginning of the show, we discussed the same. And Bennett, our friend from Sri Lanka, seems to be siding with Australia 60-40 in the overall scheme of things. But let's look at the bowling right now. Anurag, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. As far as the bowling is concerned, I think not many expected Mohammad Shami to rise through the ranks the way he eventually did, right? And especially in the World Cup tournament since 2015, he's been in that kind of form where he comes up, he picks up at least 2 or 3 wickets regularly. And he's picked up 8 4-wicket hauls in 3 World Cups. Nobody has even 6. So he's a standout star. I would expect him to go for those wickets, especially in those middle overs where, if the power play overs are not working out as per plan. Obviously, there's Jasprit Bumrah there who keeps it very tight, and even the batters don't try to attack him as much. More often than not, we've seen batters go after Mohammad Siraj. So in such a situation, in the unfortunate situation where the Indian bowlers are taken for runs, maybe Mohammad Shami is always going to come in handy in those after 8 overs, after 10 overs. So for me, he's been a real standout. But one of the underrated stars for me is Kuldeep Yadav, somebody who's worked on his who's worked on his pace a lot, especially in the last 1 year. If you look at it, his bowling in the last, 3 years before, or if you look at his bowling now, the one standout change has been he's compromised on his turn a little bit, and he's worked on his pace. He's trying to extract a little more pace in that flight, which has a little more revolutions on the ball. and it just makes it a extra bit difficult for batters to pick him and to premeditate anything. So I think he's really worked on that well. And if you look at last match where every bowler was getting hit across both teams, he ended up having what 55 odd runs. That I think is a remarkable achievement, and he returned with wickets as well. And not to forget, he bowled those two very crucial overs in the 42nd and 44th over. You can imagine the kind of trust that the skipper has in him, that a bowler who bowls around 80, 85K in a ground as not as big as Wankhede is when he went to that bowler and he's lived up to that trust. So I'm really, really impressed with what Kuldeep Yadav has been able to achieve. Besides that, I think Bumrah, Siraj had that couple of good spells against Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Everyone in the Indian bowling attack has been really good. But for me, especially, the rise of Kuldeep has been impressive.
Right. Very interesting, Anurag, you make that point. We're also joined by Terry Blake, ex-ECB director, who's joining us from England. Terry, welcome to the show. It's your debut.
Thank you very much. Good to be on.
Absolutely. We're pleased to have you. But don't you think so? Your team, your countrymen are missing out on the party that they're supposed to be in, or supposed to be that they have enjoyed in the last 4 years? Do you miss that part?
Well, of course. I mean, only the West Indies and Australia, I think, have won back-to-back World Cups.
Yes.
I'm mighty glad we won it in 2019. We've had a horrible fall here. But thanks for reminding me. I've tried to put it behind me and looking forward to the big final.
Well, absolutely. We're eyeing on the big final. But there's one interesting thing, basically we look at the comments that came and emerged from the big pundits at that point of time. And I'm referring to the big ones like Nasser Hussain and Mike Atherton. They made a very famous, interesting thing on Sky Cricket, saying that India as a team, the batters can't bowl and the bowlers can't bat. I think England was very good up till a point, and when they landed in India, I think the reality hit them. Do you think it's a time for punditry to stop, especially at the World Cup? Because people can say what they want, but actually the proof of the pudding is actually at the ground on that very day. Would you believe that?
I'm not sure about the punditry. What I do know is that the selection of Ben Stokes seemed to unsettle the team. They hadn't played together very much as a team. We've been through all the reasons. Jason Roy not being fit, Milan being in, Brook being out, then back in again, Stokes unbalancing the side with his ability to only bat. And then England lost the plot with their confidence about selection, confidence in form. And ultimately, we lost too many players at the same time, looking a poor imitation of the 2019 team. So whatever Atherton and Nasser might say, I think it's very evident that England had a nightmare campaign led by Butler, who lost form just at the wrong time.
Well, absolutely. We've also discussed and debated about the coach, Mott. Do you think it was premature to get someone of his caliber to a world-class team?
I don't know much about Mott. I haven't been that impressed with what I've seen of him. But on the other hand, he won a T20 World Cup in almost his first year. And I think he deserves a chance to defend that next year. But I wouldn't see beyond next year unless there's an improvement in all our white ball cricket.
Well, absolutely.
Of course, if 50-over cricket gets put to the back burner for World Cups only, maybe there'll be time for Brendan McCullum to take on all formats with some good assistance.
Well, we'll get David Brooks here in this conversation. What do we know of Mr. Mott, which you called him Mr. Invisible at times, and other times you were a little more generous towards him? David Brooks, please join us.
I have to apologise to him. I didn't get his name right until they were knocked out. I was calling him Michael Mott. He's actually Matthew Mott. But then I also said Mohammed Shiraz, which I apologise for. I was confusing him with a bottle of red wine that I had last night. Mott has been a disastrous coach. He knows nothing of English cricket. It's the opposite of Rahul Dravid. Dravid knows every player. Mott had to stick with the players he knew, plus Ben Stokes, who we'd also heard of. He knows nothing of county cricket. He doesn't know who's coming up. He knows nothing of the coaching support staff. He had Freddie Flintoff as his special envoy coming into the dressing room, a man who's been out of the game on entertainment television for the last 6 years. I mean, the whole thing was an absolute disaster. And if I never hear his name again, it would be too quick. But he unfortunately is on the tour to West Indies, which Roland, I'm sure, will be happy about, because the same leadership team is now going to be going to West Indies and playing a one-day series. So, Roland, it's all in your hands now.
Well, absolutely. Roland Butcher, England comes to West Indies. Where is your heart and where is your nationality? Where is your heart and your thoughts? Who are they with?
Well, listen, I am currently a West Indies selector. I was born in Barbados. I played for England. England was my adopted home. But I'm back in the place of my birth, so clearly behind West Indies. We're looking forward to the series against England. It's a good opportunity for us to let some of our young players understand what international cricket is about. I know England will want to come here feeling that after a disastrous World Cup, they want to put things right. But, we're really looking forward to the contest. And well, I'm firmly behind West Indies.
Anurag, where do you think this was a shadow of what the great team it used to be, who taught the modern day template to the world of ODI and the cricket? We're talking about England right now, and it's so sad that they don't even make it to the top 6. Your views on it? Anurag, I think...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of reasoning behind it. Like some of the players have mentioned that due to the lack of ODI cricket or due to their losing interest in ODI cricket, I think some of them put it very indirectly or very mildly in that way as well. That is, these things have been called as the reasons, but there have been a lot of other teams which haven't played as much ODI cricket but are doing well. I'm not exactly sure about the numbers, but I don't remember Australia playing as many ODIs as India have done this year as well. But look at them, they're in the final. So I don't think it's down to that. I think they've been taken aback a little bit by the conditions, especially the slowness of the conditions. That's what I feel. Otherwise, if you look at their track record, especially in the last 4 years, even a couple of years before that, starting from Morgan's captaincy until last year when they won the T20 World Cup. They've been a brilliant white balls team. I don't think there is any change in that. Even after this tournament's result, I think they were taken aback by the conditions. It was a very poor performance, must admit that. But I still think they will bounce back very strongly, especially in the T20 World Cup coming up next year.
Well, I'm sure hope is all we live in, but this is a fall of the mighty, and I'd love to get Terry, if he's sitting inside his car and taking this question. Do you think somewhere, as the creators of ODI, you've lost the plot for T20? You've surrendered for franchise cricket, and where does 100 stand in the overall scheme of things of the cricket? We've lost county. Do you think ODI will also lose its battle against the franchise cricket? Your views. Terry, if you're there.
Well, I think T20 was an excellent innovation. It was needed. It meant that people could watch after work. It's been picked up all over the world. England was slow to capitalize on the initial launch in 2003, 4, 5, etc. That's ancient history now. I think if they lose ODIs, you'll be left with a quick game of drafts or a heavy game of chess and nothing in between. And I think would be an absolute tragedy. One of the best matches I ever saw was the World Cup 1999 semi-final, when Shane Warne came on and bowled a 10-over spell pretty much straight through and turned a match that was going South Africa's way in another low-scoring semi-final. So I think it would be a tragedy if 50-over cricket was to disappear. And I think...
But forgive me for saying this, but why are your mates like Mark Nicholas saying those things, and especially being at a very strong and a solid position of strength? proposing and propagating a theory of demise of ODI cricket, because tomorrow what you're going to see at the Narendra Modi Stadium, the final will be a sold-out event. It'll be one of the most viewed cricket event in the history of cricket, and certainly this thing comes out from England, and especially when they're not winning the series. Do you think it's bad, poor taste, or it's just that one bad stray comment from a commentator?
Well, I am a member of the MCC, and I've written to the secretary of the MCC asking to join an informal meeting. I want to question Mark Nicholas in particular about his, I think, disgraceful proposition that ODI should simply be played at World Cups and maybe Champions Trophies only. I'm led to believe that Kumar Sangakkara and the World Cricket Committee of MCC, which is quite a good committee in terms of its makeup and indeed its influence, but if they're also supporting that, then it's a very, very sad day. And I think the members will be upset because a good day out at Lord's for a one-day match has always been extremely popular. Now, I know that's not the case all around the world, but please don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Absolutely.
That's an interesting thing. Well, David Brooks, we've been championing this process of holding on to the ODI cricket. What are your thoughts? Do you agree with Terry, or would you just want to go with Mark Nicholas since you've worked with him in the past?
Certainly with Terry on this. I think as president of the MCC, in his very first statement to call for the end of bilateral ODIs except during the World Cup year, I think it was completely intemperate. I mean, has it got the backing of the Cricket Committee? Was he speaking off the top of his head? And I hope there's no conflict of interest here, because he is chairman of one of these franchises playing in the 100, not a tournament known in India, unlikely to ever be seen outside the UK. 100 balls. They don't even play overs. It's something to do with 5-ball sets or 10-ball sets, and then they change. And I mean, it's not any cricket board's job to mess around with the rules of cricket and to arbitrarily change the overs. It's a nonsense tournament. If Mark's allowing his chairmanship of that to sort of, although when I heard his commentary, he was commentating on the host broadcaster, he did refer to one of Virat Kohli's innings as being a great 50-over innings. And he did seem to be pulling back a bit. He said the game had been hijacked by T20 cricket. Now, so he may already be regretting his comments. We've all said these things. But what I'm concerned about is the ICC immediately called for a review also of the 50-over format. There's been a suggestion that it could be reduced to 40. Come on, how many other sports are obsessed with shortening the game to the extent that cricket is? Have confidence in your product. You've got the 20 over. It's a great form. Keep the 50. It's a day out, and fans like it. Bowler. I don't know any bowlers who like coming off after 4 overs, apart from these guys like Trent Boult, who's semi-retired, and we saw what happened to him when in this World Cup. You can't bowl 4-over spells and then expect to play in a World Cup match like this. A pretty 20 or 30 from Liam Livingstone isn't going to win you a World Cup.
Well, absolutely. We're not going to spend much time on inconsequential format called the hundreds, but we will shift our focus back on something more pertinent, more factual, more real, and something we all grew up and loved, which is the ODI World Cup. And it is the final tomorrow between India and Australia, one of the old nemesis. Do you think it's the new Ashes of ODI white ball cricket? Terry, you've been in ECB's director's position. Do you consider it as a high profile, high drama, high voltage kind of a drama here?
Of course. India, Australia, two giants. I mean, if India and Pakistan could have been playing the final, that would have been even bigger than the Ashes. Whether you can compare ODI series to Ashes, I'm not sure. But India, Australia, I think is a perfect final. If there's one team that India would possibly fear, I think, above others, it would be Australia. Form players like David Warner, Glenn Maxwell, if he gets in, Stark's improving, their pace attack, Adam Zampa's had a very good tournament. So they are definitely a possible banana skin. But I still see India winning comfortably in the end.
Well, we've got that thing. Roland Butcher, this is our favorite time of the discussion where we ask who's going to be the impact player and what is going to be the outcome of tomorrow's match. Roland, we'll start with you, then go on to Bennett, David, Terry, and the final conclusion from Anurag. Well, right now we'll start. Throw the dice to you. Roland Butcher, who's going to be the impact player for tomorrow and why?
Well, I think this contest is going to be quite an even contest between these two sides. I think if there's one side that India will fear, obviously is Australia. There's no question about it, because Australia may not be the best team. I don't think they are the best team in this tournament. But what I would say is, because of their fighting qualities, it always gives them a chance. So that is something that India will have to come to grips with in this final. The other thing is, for India to win this tournament, it means that they would have had to do something that no other team has done before, which is won every single game in the tournament. That's a difficult burden to carry. I suspect the key players really in this game for me are going to be, for India, I think in the batting, I think certainly Kohli and Rahul and Jadeja in the middle order in terms of their batting, because you know in cricket you can always lose wickets early on. So those three players in the middle, and then with the bowling, obviously, I think Bumrah, Shami, and Kuldeep are going to be key players. For Australia, I think a key player for Australia is going to be Mitchell Marsh, because if Marsh scores runs, he scores them very quickly, and he can take that bowling apart. So he's an important part. Obviously, Glenn Maxwell's unpredictability is something that is going to be needed in the team. And then in the bowling department, obviously Mitchell Starc has started the ball a bit better. He started slowly, but could be a key man in the final. And along with Sam Adam-Zampa, who has been an improving cricketer, his form has been improving throughout this tournament. So I said they're fairly two well-matched teams, but I suspect that, and I believe that Australia will win this final for the reasons that I said before. India are going to have to overturn something that has never happened before. And that could weigh heavily also on them going into this game, having not lost a game.
Well, interesting. You took 4 Indians and 4 Aussies. I'll come to Bennett. Bennett, who's your favorite right now before we wrap the show and get Tasneem in as well? Yeah.
I think Roland, I'm glad to hear that someone is in agreement with my views on this. Thank you. I mean, again, so just a little bit of a background as to what I'm thinking. I mean, India certainly are the better side going in here, but tomorrow they're going to get exposed. They're going to get out of their comfort zone, which they haven't been. So it will be a battle of how they adapt to being in a non-comfort area. This is what Australia will do early. They will try to expose their batting, get quick wickets, and when it comes to their turn to bowl, they will single out and attack sort of 1 or 2 bowlers and try and bring in the 6th bowling option, which they don't have. So this is what I see. So in terms of what's going to happen, as I already said, I think it'll be a closely contested game and Australia will win.
Impact players. Bennett.
Impact
players. Let's bite the bullet.
Impact players for India, I'd say Shreyas Iyer will be the one to watch in terms of the batting, and Ravindra Jadeja for both the batting and the bowling. For bowling, Mohammad Shami. Mohammad Shami will be the key for India, and between these two players, Australia will vary on that. For Australia, I'm going to go with Josh Hazlewood. I think he's going to be the key with this hard line and length and the mesmerizing lengths that he creates right early on. And for batting, I'm going to go with Steve Smith. It's going to be his day tomorrow.
My God, you've picked up absolutely. Tasneem, what is your thing? Would you agree with Bennett? Because he's picked up 2 interesting names, Hazlewood and Smith. People would not give that kind of thumbs up for those names. These are not popular names. These are straight from the operatic names, not the popular pop names. Go on.
Definitely, I'm going to agree with him on one name for sure, and that name is Josh Hazlewood. I've been speaking about him all throughout the day today, and I'm going to throw some numbers at it because me just talking about it just may not be enough. in this tournament so far. He's picked up 14 wickets, of which we actually compared Mohammad Shami to Pat Cummins this afternoon, who's only got 13 wickets. Josh Hazelwood on 14 wickets, best bowling figures of 3 for 38. He's bowled a total overs of 83.1 overs, and his economy is just at 4.67.
And how much is Bumrah at?
Bumrah's economy is not one we just need to keep reiterating. He is the lowest economical bowler at this current tournament. So taking into consideration, Bumrah is definitely up there for me, and my impact players, I would definitely say Josh Hazelwood is someone you'd want to look out for.
One batter.
One batter on the other end, I'm definitely going to go for, I think I'm with everyone on the fact that Mitchell Marsh, when he does get going, he has the threat for me because he hits hard and he bats deep. So that's two things you most probably want to look for. Those are two things Virat Kohli has consistently pulled out this World Cup. On the other end of the side, I'm with everybody here. You may get rid of Virat, you may get rid of Rohit at the top, but Shiraz here is in top form for me. He's in great touch as well. And I'm thinking Jadeja might just come to the party as well for India as well, because everybody's looking at him as the type of guy that may be the weak link in their armour right now. But take nothing away and forget not the abilities of this man as well. He may be going economical with no wickets to his name. You think you're going to take him on tomorrow and it's just his day. He's on top of everything else.
Absolutely. These are two brilliant names of very different. People wouldn't have given Jadeja a go, but yeah, we'll come to that. David Brooks.
I'm going with Tasmin. Jadeja is the first name.
You remind me of the 2017 answer where Sarfaraz said after Virat Kohli answered about the pressure, he said, same to same answer. Is that what you want to say?
Yeah, same answer.
Same to same.
Jadeja's the first name on my India team sheet. And look at his record against Australia. Him and Ashwin had a spell over Australia.
But that's white ball cricket, David. White ball cricket is different. Sorry, red ball cricket is different from white, and you know how things are. He and Ashwin are absolutely devastating. But that's for another day. But tomorrow, who's your pick? Jadeja and?
Oh, you want me to pick an Australian?
Well,
I don't have any to offer. If Steve Smith has a good day tomorrow, I will be amazed. He's looked bewildered throughout the tournament. I don't know. He suffered from vertigo before one game and couldn't take the field. It's not that far down from the dressing room, is it?
Well, it's always fun to have him on the show, but I'll go on to Terry, and then Anurag to wrap up the show. Terry, who's your favorite tomorrow? Impact player for tomorrow?
I'll pick one bowler and one batsman.
Yes.
Bumrah, Kohli, with a bit of Jadeja for the all-round spot, and India to win.
India to win. Anyone from Aussies? I know you may not like it sitting in London. You may not fancy any Aussie scoring anything. Well, that was Terry, and now we'll wrap up with Anurag. Anurag, just if we can see you on the television screen. Yes, you're there. Almost. Anurag, who's your favorite for tomorrow? Let's get your pick as well.
I think yes. If you're going with form, India is the favorite, and for me, the impact players would be. I think everyone has mentioned Mitchell Marsh, and for India, that kind of an aggressor has been Rohit Sharma, and if he can get those 60, 70 odd runs at quick pace, which he's been doing throughout the tournament, it's going to be epic. Among bowlers, I'm really looking forward to the Indian spin department. I hope they really keep things tight in the middle overs and swing the match in our balance.
Well, absolutely. Any name from Australia? I know I'm pushing it, but yeah, still one name, impact player.
I'm a little worried about Travis Head, I'll be honest, because I think he was very instrumental in the World Test Championship final as well, and he's been in fantastic form. People have forgotten about it a little bit in the last 1 month when he had that injury, but he's been in terrific form. I'm a little worried of him. And Mitchell Starc is the man for the big occasion. You never know.
Well, that's all we had time for. We had some brilliant names, of course, apart from Kohli, Rahul. Roland was very interested in Mitchell Marsh, Maxwell. But again, the highlight of the day was Hazelwood and Smith. This is what the name that had come out. Shami, Tasneem said, of course, Hazelwood and Marsh. Jadeja and Smith for Terry. Bumrah, Kohli and Jadeja. And for Anurag, it is Rohit Sharma And Travis said, well, we've got like almost half of the Australia team and the India team, which means that our house is divided, which means that players have also need to work hard tomorrow and there are no clear favourites from either side. Well, that's all we had time for. Keep watching NewsX. I thank all my panel of guests for joining us from all parts of the world and joining us and giving their pearls of wisdom. We had some very senior selectors, directors from the cricket board, commentators, television media journalists, international cricket players still in Tasneem, and Anurag as one of the journalists. Thank you for that Peter Drury thing as well.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.